we're going to talk about Bernie Sanders again. So see,
okay,
we're having fun this first hour.
Okay, I'll give it to you. This was a fun hour.
This was a fun hour, but unfortunately, what's happening is that, of course, as Bernie Sanders making his announcement, corporate media is going to do everything in their power to make Bernie Sanders look bad or challenge him on every single policy issue. We saw firsthand what they're doing, what they're still doing to Tulsi Gabbard. And, of course, we're going to expect the same from Bernie Sanders, too. I mean, they're going to try everything. So, as we all know, the United States is actively trying to topple the current Venezuelan government. It's a very controversial thing that's happening, and already President Trump and his administration has acknowledged another leader as the unelected president of Venezuela. And this article that's from Politico just basically said the just announced 2020 contender declines to say whether the socialist Venezuelan dictator should go. Florida Democrats are denouncing Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders for refusing to call Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro a dictator, a politically explosive issue in the nation's biggest swing state. Sanders would not say whether he considered Venezuela's assembly leader Juan Guaido as the nation's interim president, which is the position of the United States and a majority of Latin American countries and European countries. Now, I find it interesting that people should demand that an unelected leader of another country should be recognized as the leader of that country, when in fact, if you look at the corporate media and as well as establishment Democrats, they were constantly saying that Russia interfered in our election and President Trump isn't truly the elected president of the United States. It's almost hypocrisy on how you're seeing the media just all of a sudden switch their tune. But if you just really pay attention to how they've been covering Russiagate and President Trump, I'm really surprised at the actions of the Democrats. And so this one Democrat also goes on the record. He's not going to be the nominee of the Democratic Party. He has demonstrated again that he does not understand the situation. Representative Donna Shala of the Miami Democrat, who represents Venezuelan exiles, told Politico, I absolutely disagree with his imprecision in not saying that Maduro must go. Shala has filed legislation aimed at helping Venezuelan immigrants. And that's fine that you want to help out immigrants, but then also let's look at what Senator Christian Gillibrand of New York and former Vice President Joe Biden, however, have clearly stated they consider Maduro a dictator and Guaido as the legitimate leader of Venezuela. And Senator Elizabeth Warren also told Pod Save America that she believed Maduro was a dictator and suggested that she supported the diplomatic part of Trump backing Guaido, though she faulted him for too much saber rattling. So this is rather disheartening to hear somebody actually, especially someone like Senator Elizabeth Warren, kind of agree with President Trump's policies. It's wrong for that because here the United States is now interfering in the election and government of another country in the Western Hemisphere. I thought we were against that. I thought a lot of people were really against other countries interfering with other elections, but it just goes to show the hypocrisy of some elected officials as well as our media. Daniel, what do you want to add on to this?
So remember when Congress was like, yeah, but they spent $4,000 on memes on Facebook. Whereas now, okay, can we do a shot with both me and Kit in this?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do a vote right now. In the comments, we need your guys' help. We need a new mayor of Chicago. I don't think Emmanuel is legitimate at all, and I nominate Kit to be mayor right now. We're not going to do an election. We're not going to do anything. In the comments right now, can you guys just put either yes or vote or +1? If we get 5 people in the chat to do that, we're going to know that Kit is now officially the mayor of Chicago. Let's do that. Come on in the chat. Can we get a few people to put up some pluses, something?
Probably not.
We'll get a few people. I guess. There we go. Yes, we got 1 person.
All right, there we go.
Okay, so sure. Okay, we got 2.
2.
3, 4, 5.
There we go.
Okay, Kit, you are now the mayor of Chicago. Now, we think that Emmanuel's very bad, so if Emmanuel has any idea to say, but this was a democratic process and I was elected, we tell him that doesn't matter. We are the United States, and Kit wasn't elected, but he is legitimate because we have decided so. I think there was a quote further back that would be as if Nancy Pelosi went in front of the White House, declared herself president, and China said, yep. I don't get how America can be so two-faced and not even act like it. It's hypocrisy. It's two-faced hypocrisy without the realization of it. We are mad about Russia, a very small country. They may be large by land, but they have a GDP less than South Korea. And they are saying that Russia, this small, almost insignificant country, with the exception of their nuclear missiles that are a carryover from the Cold War, that they are powerful. Okay. First of all, that makes Putin look much stronger. The Russian journalists that are against him hate that America is doing this for that reason.
Yeah.
But it's fine if the U.S. legitimately does an economic blockade, lets OPEC not do anything to Saudi Arabia for overproducing oil, and then doing all these things, again, our entire history in Central and South America, and then have the gall to say, hey, that election didn't look that good. And I'm going to say, the election may not have been legitimate, but it is not the position or the right of the United States to determine that any further than at a news desk.
Yeah,
it is the people of Venezuela that if it is true and that it is a popular uprising, then it will be a popular uprising that takes down Maduro. It is not the job of the U.S. to do regime change at the same time it complains incessantly that you smell a little, some people tried to affect the election. You can't say both at the same time. Pick one and stick with it.
Well, they're not going to do that because that's corporate media. So first, I want to give a shout out to everyone in the chat that basically nominated me as mayor of the city of Chicago. I will use my powers responsibly. But also, I want to go a little bit more in detail what Bernie Sanders has said as well. So when the reporter was asking Bernie Sanders if he recognized Guaido as the legitimate leader of the country, Sanders answered no. And then he also went on to say this: I think clearly he has, being the current president, been very, very abusive, Sanders replied. That is a decision of the Venezuelan people, just like what Daniel said. So I think, George, there's got to be a free and fair election, which is something that should happen. But what must not happen is that the United States must not use military force to intervene again, as is done in the past in Latin American countries, as you recall, whether it was Chile or Brazil or Dominican Republic or Guatemala. Because if we just look back at U.S. history, the United States has interfered with a lot of governments in the Western Hemisphere, especially in Latin America, Central America, in South America. It's just another sad example of really us abusing our power. And this thing of Venezuela is just like going back in time. Here we are interfering with a foreign government and then picking somebody that we think should be president of that country. No one would like it if that happened to us. And we see the hypocrisy of corporate media. And like I said, they're going to attack Bernie Sanders just like how they're attacking Tulsi Gabbard on every single issue. They're trying to make people look at Bernie Sanders as someone who doesn't understand the real issue. Well, he understands the issue. He understands that if we interfere with another country's election, it's going to drastically impact us. And a lot of people are going to lose trust and confidence in the United States. We're, in 2016, after the general election, you heard nothing but from corporate media and CNN, MSNBC, and as well as from the Democratic establishment that Russia somehow took over our election and, President Trump got elected. Well, our election system is very out of date. It's antiquated. It's clearly corrupt because of Citizens United and McCutcheon's decision, where money is speech and corporations are people. You know what that means? Anybody can buy an elected official. And not to mention, while constantly people are saying that, well, Clinton won the popular vote, we don't live in that kind of democracy. We have a thing called the Electoral College, and the Clinton campaign ran a terrible campaign, and President Trump was able to capitalize on the fact that the Democratic establishment committed election fraud, a very flawed and horrible candidate to be their nominee. And so with Bernie Sanders now entering the 2020 race, he is correct on his point of view that we should not intervene in Venezuela, and that the people who should make the decision on what kind of government they should have are the people of Venezuela. They live there. We don't. We wouldn't like it if somebody did that to us. Daniel?
Yeah, I think everything Kit said exactly right. This is modern America. This is what you see when empires begin to fall. Venezuela has a lot of oil, and we want that oil because we like oil. We're America, and that's what we do. We take over countries. Again, I think the whole thing that America has the audacity to complain that they didn't uphold human rights, America doesn't care about human rights as long as the commodity that we want from you is being sold at us in the quantity that we want it at the price that we set. Yep. If you do that, we don't care if you have slavery. We don't care if you have machete gangs that cut up children. If you're giving us the price for that material that we want. We saw, again, in Iran, they had a democratic government that was very good. People liked it. And they made the terrible mistake, the worst mistake you can do on this planet. nationalizing their own oil so that they could have their citizens pay a reduced rate.
And telling the government of Britain and America that, wait, we want the oil and resources to go to our people.
Yes. And America didn't like that. So they overthrew that government, installed a dictator that was the Shah, and eventually he was so unpopular, a popular uprising. It's funny. It's like Venezuela, we want a popular uprising, just not then in Iran. Overthrew, and now they have the Ayatollah. So, and on top of that, almost all of South America has a similar story where they had a democratic government that just didn't give us the price that we wanted and the quantity, and wanted to protect their own citizens, so we just got rid of the government and installed a dictatorship. That's what America does. Yeah. That's part of what allows America to survive and be the empire it is by weakening the citizens of other countries, increasing corruption across the planet, so that you can get a Mattel car that's this big for 99 cents rather than $1.50.
Yeah, okay, so one final note, too. Just so you guys understand, look, in theory, democracies have every right to disagree with each other, and it isn't the right of another country to interfere with another election. And just to quote 100 Pareto, we can't afford to sit back and see Venezuela's oil fall into the hands of Venezuelans. So perfect. That's a final good note to end the story on. But again, with Bernie Sanders, this isn't the first article that they're going to do some negative stuff on.
Washington Post is already trying to replicate their 16 articles in 16 hours.
They're trying to do that, and you know what? I think we all are smart enough to realize the hypocrisy of corporate media. Hey everyone, did you like that video? Well, guess what? You can hit the subscribe button, hit that ring bell notification, so that way you're updated when we upload new content to our YouTube channel.